you for being here. What makes today a historic moment or in history is it was the first powered flight. We were not going to get to the moon on a balloon or a glider. You had to have power to get up there, and the Wright brothers they provided power. And Apollo 11 went to the moon carrying a splinter and a piece of cloth from the Wright flyer and left it on the moon in honor of the Wright brothers, knowing how important their invention was or discovery. It happened in 1903. 10 years prior to 1903, the museum decided they'd like to have a Wright Flyer engine in their collection. So 3 machinists were selected to make an engine, and in 2 years in 2.5 years, they made 2 engines. And this one, every year up till today, has run. Big disappointment. It's a very simple engine. They couldn't find anyone that could make one to meet their specs. It had to come in under 200 pounds and have 8 horsepower. And no one back in those days could do that. So they went to, first Charlie. They went to Charlie, their mechanic of the bicycle shop, mechanic machinist of their bicycle shop, and asked him if he could make them an engine. And he said, well, let me give it a try. And this is what he came up with, and it was very successful. It was also very simple. Didn't have a carburetor, didn't have any spark plugs, didn't have a fuel pump, oil pump, throttle, but it would start and it ran, and it proved that you could have powered flight. And that's all it had to do. Except today it can't do it. The first flight was by Orville, and it lasted 12 seconds and went 120 feet. They did 2 more flights, and then Wilbur did the final flight of 852 feet, and that's approximately up to the Oregon Pavilion, or 3 lengths of a football field. I'm sorry, yards. And it got up to 31 miles an hour. This plane above me, the A-12, if you go halfway back in time to 1962, this plane would go 3 times the speed of sound at 2,500 miles an hour. After their final flight that morning, they decided to take a lunch break. During lunch, a gust of wind came up and flipped the plane and broke off one of the engine mounts, and that's how it is down at Kitty Hawk today. When we would run it, we'd also run it for a very short time because you'd have a problem with burning valves. It'd get hot. Valves were needed to be made out of aged cast iron. My predecessors found a junkyard in San Diego. And got some aged cast iron. It was a Coronado manhole cover. So the exhaust valves in this were made out of a manhole cover.
Huh.
That's the point where we usually run it, and today it's not going to get run. I've been here for maybe about 25 runs, and was very disappointed this morning we couldn't get it going. So we have some work to do, but it'll be the first time in about 27 years. It probably needs an overhaul. Have any questions?
Is it air cooled?
No, it was initially water cooled, but we found that the water and the oil would get mixed up in it, and so we just have it oil cooled also. Don't worry about the contamination in the water.
That's what the second tank score is for the oil.
Yes.
And how much does this one weigh?
This engine, it's 200 pounds. It was supposed to come in at 180, but it came in at 200 pounds, but it has 12, they wanted 8 horsepower, but it came in with 12 horsepower, so that took care of the additional weight. Yes.
Can you tell me what the displacement is?
200 cubic inches.
So we figure this is certainly one of the an example of what the Wright brothers encountered in their challenge, to do it December 17, 1903. And to remember this date, we think is very significant because when you think it was just 122 years ago, and some very classic moments, realizing that on May 20, 1927, Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic solo. Amelia did it 5 years to the day later. October 14, 1947, Yeager breaks the sound barrier, and we land on the moon in '69. And so our choice to honor this day is because of what they have given us today. Of course, because of the fog, the airlines are launching out of Lindbergh the other direction. But this is the moment that started it all and represents not just aviation and space technology, but really technology for everything. If you look at an overlay of technology worldwide, it's a perfect overlay of aviation and space. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you.